Good morning sa lahat. Tara, basa tayo ng ating libro guys. The Word in Other Words Bible Diary 2023. Today is 6 June 2025. Nandito na tayo sa page ng 7 July Friday. 13th week in Ordinary Time. That green comma PS is 1. Lagi kong sinasabi wala siyang page numbering. Kaya sa homily, date ng homily nila tayo nakadepend. Sabayan nyo na ako ng basa guys, yung wala ganitong libro kasi dito lang to sa Hong Kong nabili sa St. Joseph Church dyan sa Central. So sa Bible nyo na lang ako sundan sa inyong Biblia. And then yung homily, yung sermon ng pare, yung pakinggan nyo na lang sa akin kasi babasahin ko yung in other words nila. Okay, the word first reading, Genesis chapter 23 verse 1 to verse 4, verse 19. And then Genesis chapter 24 verse 1 to verse 8, and then verse 62 to verse 67. Ulitin ko para hindi kayo malito, para masundan niyo ako sa Biblia. First reading, Genesis chapter 23 verse 1 to verse 4, and then verse 19. Tapos lumaktaw siya, pumunta siya sa Genesis chapter 24 verse 1 to verse 8, and then verse 62 to verse 67. Kaya mahaba-haba guys. The span of Sarah's life was 127 years. She died in Kiryat Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham performed the customary mourning rites for her. Then he left the side of his dead one and addressed the Hittites. Although I am a resident alien among you, sell me from your holdings a piece of property for a burial ground, that I may bury my dead wife. Abraham had now reached a ripe old age, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. The plot of ground on which he had pitched his tent, he bought for 100 pieces of bullion from the descendants of Hamor, the founder of Shechem. Abraham said to the senior servant of his household, who had charge of all his possessions, "Put your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord." Dito talaga ako natatawa guys. Kailangan ba talaga sa thigh? Okay, "Put your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not procure a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I live, but that you will go to my own land and to my kindred to get a wife for my son Isaac." The servant asked him, "What if the woman is unwilling to follow me to this land? Should I then take your son back to the land from which you migrated?" "Never take my son back there for any reason," Abraham told him. "The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and the land of my kin, and who confirmed my oath, the promise he then made to me, I will give this land to your descendants. He will send his messenger before you, and you will obtain a wife for my son there. If the woman is unwilling to follow you, you will be released from his oath, but never take my son back there." Bakit nung araw guys, magulang ang pumipili ng mapapangasawa ng anak? Parang napaka-unfair naman sa generation natin ngayon. Syempre kung sino yung gusto ng anak natin, yun dapat ang masunod, hindi yung ikaw ang pipili para sa anak mo. Kasabagay, ito yung ito yung ano nila noong araw. Diba nga puro arranged marriage sila. Meanwhile, as Isaac had gone from Berlahai Roy and was living in the region of the Negev, that camels were approaching. Rebekah too was looking about, and when she saw him, she alighted from her camel and asked the servant, "Who is the man out there walking through the fields toward us?" "That is my master," replied the servant. Then she covered herself with her veil. The servant recounted to Isaac all the things he had done. Then Isaac took Rebekah into his tent. He married her, and thus she became his wife. In his love for her, Isaac found solace after the death of his mother Sarah. Gospel reading, Matthew chapter 9, verse 9 to verse 13. As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the customs post. He said to him, "Follow me," and he got up and followed him. While he was at table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners came and sat with Jesus and his disciples. The Pharisees saw this and said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" He heard this and said, "Those who are well do not need a physician, but the sick do. Go and learn the meaning of the words, 'I desire mercy, not sacrifice.' I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." So, pumarito si Jesus para sa mga makasalanan, guys. In other words, by Father Franz Gassner, SVD Macau. Some people, ito na yung pinakasermon ng pare. Pakinggan nyo na lang. Some people are guided by a strong opinion that there is nothing new under the sun. In reality, they believe that change is not possible. Old views and mistakes will return forever and ever. Only the wheel of fortune holds sway in life, and history forms of prejudices. These are sinners, fribble, and block avenues to changes and surprises that something new is possible and can emerge despite all odds. What a contrast to the gospel today for Matthew. Suddenly a new life opens for him and his entire house. He grasps his once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and follows the invitation and plan of Jesus, "Follow me." Being held by his presence and trust, Matthew's life and future have been transformed in an unpredictable and unforeseeable way. His life aligns with his name, which means gift of God in Hebrew. Ibig sabihin ng Matthew, guys, is gift of God. Ba't ganun, no? Yung mga pangalan nila may mga ibig sabihin. Tayo kaya yung pangalan natin, anong ibig sabihin? The message of today's gospel extends to all of us, the church, and all people of goodwill. We are called to join the great transformation the Lord is calling us to. Despite all challenges and odds, we are invited to grow and continue the Lord's legacy of healing and mercy. Ultimately, Jesus the Lord is challenging and cleansing all forms of religions, granted that they are open to the healing power of God, who as then becomes a gift of God. For the good of humanity and history, let us join and be part of this great transformation of renewal, healing, and mercy. 8 July, Saturday, 13th week in Ordinary Time. That green comma piece is 1. The word first reading, Genesis chapter 27, verse 1 to verse 5, verse 15 to verse 29. Ito lang nakakalito rito, guys, pagka yung laktaw-laktaw. Kasi syempre, yung mga sumusunod sa atin sa Bible, basta i-backward nyo na lang, guys, para maintindihan nyo. Okay, ulitin ko. First reading, Genesis chapter 27, verse 1 to verse 5, verse 15 to verse 29. When Isaac was so old that his eyesight had failed him, he called his older son Esau and said to him, "Son." "Yes, father," he replied. Isaac then said, "As you can see, I am so old that I may now die at any time. Take your chair, therefore, your quiver and bow, and go out into the country to hunt some game for me. With your catch, prepare an appetizing dish for me, such as I like, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my special blessing before I die." Rebekah had been listening while Isaac was speaking to his son Esau. So when Esau went out into the country to hunt some game for his father, Rebekah then took the best clothes of her older son Esau that she had in the house, and gave them to her younger son Jacob to wear. And ito yung may favoritism talaga. And with the skins of the kids, she covered up his hands and the hairless parts of his neck. Then she handed her son Jacob the appetizing dish and the bread she had prepared. Bringing them to his father, Jacob said, "Father." "Yes," replied Isaac. "Which of my sons are you?" Jacob answered his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I did as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your special blessing." But Isaac asked, How did you succeed so quickly, son?" He answered, "The Lord your God let things turn out well with me." Isaac then said to Jacob, Come closer, son, that I may feel you, to learn whether you really are my son Esau or not." So Jacob moved up closer to his father. When Isaac felt him, he said, "Although the voice is Jacob's, the hands are Esau's." He failed to identify him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So in the end, he gave him his blessing. Again he asked him, "Are you really my son Esau?" "Certainly," he replied. Then Isaac said, "Serve me your game, son, that I may eat of it, and then give you my blessing." Jacob served it to him, and Isaac ate. He brought him wine, and he drank. Finally his father Isaac said to him, "Come closer, son, and kiss me." As Jacob went up and kissed him, Isaac smelled the fragrance of his clothes. With that he blessed him, saying, the fragrance of my son is like the fragrance of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give to you of the dew of the heavens, and of the fertility of the earth abundance of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations be your homemaids. Be master of your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you." Naisahan ni Isaac si Esau. Okay, gospel reading, pero huwag niyong gagawin yan, ha? Kasi pang bubudol yan sa magkakapatid. Sa generation natin, ha? Siyempre ito sa generation nila to. Gospel reading, Matthew chapter 9, verse 14 to verse 17. The disciples of John approached Jesus and said, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast much, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered them. Ito yung fasting, guys. Jesus answered them, "Can the wedding guest mourn as long as the bridegroom is with him? The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast. No one patches an old cloak with a piece of unshrunken cloth, for its fullness pulls away from the cloak, and the tear gets worse. People do not put new wine into old wineskins, otherwise the skins burst. The wine spills out, and the skins are ruined. Rather, they pour new wine into fresh wineskins, and both are preserved." In other words, by Father Fermin Chokes Galulo, SBD, the City, Manila. Sometimes we get so caught up in how we do things that we forget why we are doing them in the first place. For example, fasting is good and is recommended for those who want to be financially and become closer to God, but fasting should be done at the proper time, in a suitable place, and in an appropriate manner, and not just because it's customary. John the Baptist called the people of his time to fast because he was preparing the people for the coming of the Messiah. It is just right to receive God with a clean heart and spirit. Jesus in today's gospel reminded the people, especially the scribes and Pharisees, that his time was different from the time of John. They should fast and do penance and preparation for the coming of the Son of Man. But since he has already come, they should rejoice and be glad because he has come, and he brings salvation to all who believe in him. Along with his coming are new ideas, a new way of life, a new way of understanding the love of God and dealing with one's neighbor. Therefore, it is important to change the old wineskins with new ones, so that the new ideas will be preserved, will be preserved and inherited by the people. Na-advance ko ng basa. Unfortunately, our old ways of thinking sometimes limit the power of God like old wineskins. We must remember that the power and ideas of God are beyond all telling. While it is true that we cannot comprehend God, at least we know that God is forgiving, generous, and loving. Thus we should always keep an eye, that we should always keep an open mind and heart to His designs. We are people redeemed by the blood of Jesus on the cross, and therefore we are called into a new life with Jesus. We are reborn in baptism, strengthened by the Spirit during our confirmation, and nourished by the bread and wine at the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. Therefore, we should not stay in the old ways of life, but live according to the new life that God has given us. Let the old self die with the old wineskins, and let new life grow and bear fruit with the new wineskins. Kaya nga hindi ko talaga alam kung yung nung araw is applicable pa sa generation natin. Bye!